Hello everybody. It is still Thursday, the 31st of March. I want to talk about the dead in Christ and how they will rise first and the rest of us shall follow. And I want to tell you what this is actually talking about. So I listened to Rick Wiles yesterday, and he was talking about the rising of the dead in Christ, and he was talking about graves opening and dead people walking about the place. I don't think that's what is meant by that. I think the dead in Christ will be very much alive. It will be more like the living dead or the zombie apocalypse. It'd be more like that. So how do you become dead in Christ? It is by following his way, by doing as he taught you to do. And that is, get rid of all of your possessions, ask nothing for yourself, that your whole desire and fulfillment be the service of something greater than yourself, and basically say nothing unless you're being told to say so. Because that's what he said, I tell you nothing unless the Father told me so. Yeah? And for myself I ask nothing. And it is my bread to do the will of him that sent me. So to become like that, then you are dead in Christ. And you are dead. That's the whole point. You are dead. The self. You've killed the self. It is the killing of the self. Now, what that will do, and just let me explain this to you. Self, so the dreaded ego, the desire, that's what you're being directed toward at the moment. Yeah? All these bad human desires that create all this badness in the world. And no, it doesn't. Desire is what drives creation forward. Yeah? Desire is actually very much constricted in most of us. And I show you how that is being done. It is by being human. You are your thoughts, you are the knowledge, you are the desire, and the knowledge of self. That is up here. But you're also the knowledge of connectiveness, of empathy, of others. Yeah? And it is between the two that you actually have a conscience. That's what is building your conscience. And a conscience is being built, as we develop. Now our first knowledge, our first level of conscience is don't do unto others as if you don't want it done to yourself. That is, you understand something hurts you and you understand the other is a bit like you, or and it will probably hurt him. So that's the first where you start building a conscience. But we can become greater ourselves through the knowledge of others. And we gain that knowledge through getting to know each other. Yeah? And then our conscience actually becomes bigger. Because through understanding the other person, we understand there are things that we might find okay, but it will hurt them. Yeah? So we don't do it. Although it would be all right for us, but not for him. So that's growing a human conscience out of the knowledge of self and the knowledge of everything else around you. And we build emotional connections with each other. So not just thought connections, but emotional connections. And like in the Bible, the 10 Commandments, that is a law of our conscience. Yeah? It says you have a desire for something, for a land. Yes, fine. But you cannot kill, you cannot steal, you cannot just take it from somebody. And there we are actually, there are our boundaries. the boundaries of our desire. And in most well-balanced human beings, that's actually working. We wouldn't do that. We would know our boundaries. So, but what happens then if you put the self away? If the self no longer exists, then the laws of your conscience no longer apply. And your connectiveness to everything else will go away. You need the self in order to be connected, to be a human being. So why would you want to? Or why do people try to destroy the self? They destroy the self in order to replace it with something else. Something else that shall rule over you. Not the knowledge of yourself, not the human knowledge of others, but something else. And it's like something higher than what you are, because you're but dust. My husband watched Dr. Zhivago the other night, and I watched a part of it. And there was a character in there, a Bolshevik, and he had become that, a revolutionary. And he was no longer a human being, but a servant to the revolution. And he was actually sat there saying, the personal life is dead. There's nothing personal anymore. Yeah? We all should be servants of the revolution. And he was a complete psychopath. Yeah? So he was burning villages because it served the revolution. Whereas if he had still been a human being, as a human being you would know burning villages is not a good thing, but he no longer knew that. So there is serving, and in the end, the revolution should have served the people. But it became that the people had to serve the revolution. And this is where the whole thing is going belly up. So no, you should not become a zombie. I've been told to do this by some higher force and I'm going to do it. And I should put my own knowing to side because this is so much better than me. No. And if you see what happened to Jesus himself, he went to the cross. Now, for a human being to say, I'm going to have myself nailed to a cross, would be a very bad thing to do. But if you are no longer yourself, but you're serving a higher purpose, and you being nailed to a cross serves that higher purpose, then you do it. And then what is it he's serving? Yeah, it is the God of the Bible. It is, in the end, the desire to possess, to subdue life, to rule over it and have dominion. So you have to put your own self knowing of good and evil. You have to put that away in order for that to have dominion over you. If you truly understand what that text is saying, that is nuts. But you can see it in this world already, all over the place. So the dead in Christ will rise first. That is those that are fully indoctrinated, yeah? That are no longer human beings. They are revolutionaries. They have become soldiers. They have become activists for the cause. And everything that good and bad is according to the cause. And then see how they treat other human beings. But as I said, the dead in Christ will rise first, and then the rest of us shall follow, and that is the way of a revolution. You need a certain amount of people, a certain percentage of the population to be that brainwashed, and they will go and do, void of reason, human reasoning anyway, and they will drag the rest of us along. Yeah, and the rest of us, once they have established their kingdom, whatever that is, the rest of us will go under a rod of iron, to be made to understood how this is a great thing, because most of us will still be human and think this is not all that good. So we need to be subdued we need to be subdued in order to follow, to do those things, whereas they will do so willingly, because they have gotten rid of the self and they have become. We are in such a great delusion, and honest to God, we are calling good evil and evil bad, good evil and evil good. And what we must do is get through the veil of doctrine, because that's what it is. Where you are in church and you're being taught this is what the text says and this is how to interpret it. And you're not looking at the text through the eyes of your humanity, of the knowing of the self. Yes, and you are a human being. And then look at the text with those eyes, and then actually ask yourself, is that good? And in doing that, in doing just that, looking at it through the eyes of humanity, through the eyes of the self, you are actually fulfilling the first commandment. I am is your Lord, and you shall have no others before that. You are Lord over yourself. And good and bad is according to what you know. Now what is happening is, of course, that we have desires, and we want a way to fulfill these desires. And ways are being brought to us. Yeah? But if something wants to serve you, a solution wants to serve you to get to your desire, that solution has to be within the law of your conscience. The solution cannot be elevated above your own conscience, and then you have to follow it. But it has to be according to you. And this is what is always happening to us. Yeah, there's something so much greater than you, and you need to serve that. And if the way toward that is against the law of your conscience, as in you have to kill, you have to steal, it doesn't matter. That thing is above you, and it is not. There is nothing above you. You are the I am, and you are Lord. And to be quite honest, if you think about it, if you are being led by the dead, the outcome is not going to be life. And that's for sure. So, and I mean, at the moment we are going, and we feel it, we are in a bloody zombie apocalypse, where people are being told, you must do this, you must do that to save yourself, because this is good, and everybody is doing it, and we're all saying, is nobody engaging in their brains here anymore? I mean, are they even, what they're being told, is that even truth? And is it good? But they're being driven into fear, and they're doing. And they're doing to others. You know, you all must, what it was, all must wear masks. And then you go up against another human being in the shop because they don't. Because maybe they can think for themselves. So this is what being dead in Christ actually means. It is a death of the self. You no longer know good and evil according to the knowledge of a human being. But it's been replaced by something else, some higher purpose. There is no higher purpose in life. And what we know as good and evil is according to life. We know bad when it goes against our life, and we know good when it gives to our life, and we know that in others. What you're actually serving otherwise, like a revolution, like a concept of a kingdom, or communism, or capitalism, those are actually dead. A concept has no life. So you're taking a knowledge that is created out of life, and you're replacing it with a knowledge that is created out of a dead concept. And then you got rid of life, and you're serving in death. So, folks, get out of the big delusion. Break through the veil of doctrine. And look at this text from the knowledge of the living truth. And do not be led by the dead, because they will not lead you to life. You know, and if they rise, don't go up, don't run behind them. Anyway, I will leave it at that. And I'll talk to you again soon. Bye.